in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vivid Voices podcast. This season, we are talking about this versus that. And in today's episode, we are talking about fitness versus diet. With me today are two speakers who, in my opinion, would be one of the best examples that we have of real life people going through every single day and struggles with both fitness and diet. So I hope, just like me, all of you will be able to relate with them, because when I had a pre-conversation with them, I did. And you know what? I think we can learn a lot from both of them. Let me introduce a little bit more about both of our speakers. Our first speaker, Rozana, she is a member of Vivid Voices. She is that one person who I know posts about her struggles in terms of losing weight on her personal social media, and I follow her closely. Rozana is an inspiration for me. She works in the HR department of a company that in Brunei, and as a person who has to deal with people on the everyday basis, I always wonder how can she go home at the end of the day and still feels like, okay, I need to proceed with my fitness and diet. And we'll hear more about her later. Now, our second speaker will be Audrey Ko. Audrey Ko is also a member of Vivid Voices podcast. And she, although works in a bank, is also a Legree instructor. Not many of us know the term. I was actually, what is Legree? And lucky for us, she will share with us what is that later on, a little bit more further. Now, Audrey, I felt very inspired when I spoke to her initially because she said, and I quote, she has been struggling with weight since at the very young age too. And I have a couple of questions that I'd love to hear from Audrey. How does she combat that? And in fact, combat that enough that she has the confidence to strive up to become a Legree instructor. That is a fitness instructor. I want to know how these two amazing women who works just like everybody else, yet at the end of the day are able to pull themselves through in fitness and diet. Now, let me ask Rozana first. Rozana, in your experience, can you share how lifestyle changes in any areas, in fact, that have led you to significant transformation in yourself, based on your experience?
Hi, Hani, and hi, Audrey. Happy to share the screen time with you two ladies tonight. Based on my experience, right, I've always had this need to be slim because I was taunted from a very young age to be small. I remember at 9 years old, I was being taunted for being the heaviest in class. And then as I was growing up, teenage boys were telling me that I would be beautiful if I lost weight. And even I have aunties telling their daughters, who happen to be my friends, who would say, actually, your friend very beautiful. Why is she not losing weight? She would be a lot prettier. So I've always been big genetically, I think, as well in terms of my body frame. And my self-esteem was quite low when I was a lot younger. It's so low that you had to scrape it off the floor pretty much. So there was always this constant desire to be thin, because then I think that I would be part of the crowd that would accept me physically because I'm thin, even though actually at that point I had a lot of friends. But so be it. So I've actually been on this journey up and down, but it was in 2009, particularly, I was 120 kilos. And at that point in my life, I was the heaviest. So I started noticing that there were already my thin friends who were getting slimmer. So apparently they were on this program called Adventures in Weight Loss. And I never considered weight loss being an adventure in the first place. And I wondered what they had to do. And so it focused a lot on diet, particularly where you were not allowed to eat any carbohydrates. You have to eliminate all sugar, no oil, and everything was needed to be measured in terms of portion sizes, and there was a schedule for eating. So for example, in terms of my a sample meal plan for the day. It's like, for example, for breakfast, I would have 90 grams of mozzarella cheese with 120 grams of vegetables. Lunch and dinner was about 120 grams of chicken breast with 120 grams of vegetables. And then there would need to be a 5 hour gap in between meals, and you can only snack 2 hours after you eat your main meal, which was typically an apple. And just to keep me sane, apparently I was allowed to drink Coke Light of 90 milliliters a day. And I must say that, cutting out sugar, cutting out carbohydrate, cutting out oil, the results was fantastic. So I had lost a total of 32 kilograms from the 120 kilograms. But in actual fact, my target weight loss, according to the program, was supposed to be a 60 kg weight loss. So actually, I felt quite discouraged because I didn't achieve my goal. But there was obviously like a physical transformation. So I just wanted to share some pictures as well to help you understand what was the physical transformation that I went through. And so if you can see my screen, so this is me in 2009, my heaviest at 120 kilos. And 2 years later, I was still able to maintain some sort of weight loss in 2011. So that's me. But the thing is that, despite me looking like that, it was purely calorie deficit, pure diet, no exercise. I was flabby in certain places. So I'm wearing, my dress is sleeveless, but I'm wearing that cardigan because I want to cover my arms because my arms are flabby. I hadn't been working on it at all. And at the same time, right, realistically, I couldn't sustain these eating habits. And despite being slimmer, 32 kilos lighter, I was still an unhappy person. Pretty much. Unhappy. Why? Well, I remember an auntie who invited me to her house. It was during Hari Raya or Eid, as you call it. And she had hoped that I would date her son. So she invited me to her house. And she prepared like this wide range of food. It was so great. It's like almost every table's covered with food. And she invited me to eat. And all I could tell her was like, no, thank you, auntie. No, thank you, auntie. I've eaten, auntie. No, thank you. And I could see like how devastated she was. So it's like, congratulations, sheer willpower for being able to say no to delicious food. But at the same time, right, I probably offended her at that point. So I just imagine like at every social event, I can't really eat anything because I had to strictly follow this meal plan. So at some point, I keep thinking like, maybe it's just better not to attend an event. But I can't because I'm a social person. Now, the funny thing is that eventually, that photo is 2011. So I actually met my future husband about a year later. And when I asked him what attracted him to me in the first place, was not even like how slim I was. He just said, "It's your smile." So I was like, okay, I'm going to marry you. So I married him. Well, it wasn't that easy, but I married him. We had 2 kids. And did I gain weight after 2 kids? You bet I did. So let's just share what did the weight gain look like. And just need to be... So this is what the weight gain looked like after giving birth. So this is post my second child. And that's me actually, I was a lot heavier here. I'm about 10 kilos heavier compared to 2009. I was 130 kilos. And you know what? I still haven't gone back down to that slim me in 2011. So I think for me, like, particularly, even though there's been change in physical transformations, like from diet and then also gaining weight because of life, for me, like the real transformation has to be really about my mindset. Like you can talk about it from a numerical perspective. It's that, this year I said to myself, I would embark on losing weight again, but this time I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to lose 10 kilograms in 1 year. And so far I've lost 3 kilograms since I last started in July. But, these are just numerical figures. Like my long-term goals really is about being strong and independent at an old age and being able to do the deep Asian squat even when I'm in my 80s. The thing is that like why these goals are important is because I watched my parents grow old, and it was not the easiest thing to watch as they lost their physical strength and also their independence. So nowadays is that, having gone through the process for so long from I would say like a teenager up till today, going through many programs. It's like I slowly am educating and learning myself because there's so much to learn in terms of both diet and fitness. So I started to plan my meals, have overnight oats for breakfast every day. Unless I wanted to have a change, that was something else. I would carry fruits as snacks, and then I would make sure that I would pack a salad or a vegetable because I felt that it was really important to take care of what I'm consuming in my body because I understand that having a calorie deficit will, of course, lead to a weight loss. But at the same time, I started exercising. So I started taking Olympic weightlifting just to gain strength. And I even entered my first weightlifting competition in 2022. And even up till now, so I'm 45 today, I'm still going for strength training with my trainer. So I don't have a fabulous body that would win me a modeling contract. But honestly speaking, after all these years, and despite whatever anyone says, I'm a lot happier with who I am as a person and a lot stronger as well. And I think really primarily, if you're talking about transformation, about these lifestyle changes, it's really about my mind and how I'm approaching health and fitness rather than just, I want to lose weight. So it's all about the approach to food, approach to exercise, approach to sleep, and more. And at the end of the day, as one of my coaches said to me, he said, keep fighting. He says, keep fighting because you have so much to fight for. And he said, fight for you.
Wow, Rozana, that's so inspiring. I've never really thought about dieting and fitness in the perspective of how you look like when you're gonna get old. You want to do that deep Asian squat. I think that is the key that I'm taking from this is the fact that you change your perspective and that enhance or strive your perseverance to be able to to change, but for yourself, like not for the weight, not for anything else, just for the fitness of it. That's amazing. And by the way, that's exactly the reason why I'm so scared of dieting, because all the numbers that you've said just now, that scared me big time. And I think that's a similar story that I could relate with you. When I met my husband, skinny and tall Chinese man, I honestly thought that I would not be here. Like we won't get along because he eats vegetable at home and I'm carnivorous at best. So yeah, that's amazing to hear how at the end of the day, a person found you for your personality, not your weight, and that eventually you persevere in terms of your perspective of change, and that you are now working towards being an independent, strong 80 years old. That's amazing. I strive to be you now too, just like what Lectricia said. Now we move on to Audrey. Now, Audrey, in your experience as someone who uses Legree as fitness, how do you define the relationship between diet and exercise in achieving overall health goals? Would you mind enlightening us, Audrey?
Thank you, Hani. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rozana, for sharing your experience and your journey so far since the start of your fitness. Before I share my views, I have to first put out a disclaimer that my sharing will be based on my own experiences over the years, because we're using I'm a Legree instructor, so this is not a paid sponsorship or anything. It's not a promotion for Legree, yeah. But then, like, if anyone is interested in Legree, we are over here at Peak Performance, so you can come try it out. And so my sharing will be based on my own experiences over the years and a combination of things I've read from articles and posts, as well as those that I learned from others in their own fitness journeys as well. So I've tried out different workout plans and dieting over the years with a few goals, typically to lose weight. I think for most women, it's always to lose weight because we're so scared of not being thin, and we equate attractiveness to being thin, which is, probably because of the media and the music industry. And typically to lose weight or to maintain after losing some weight. And also, every now and then, it would be because of the fear that comes out from not being able to outrun zombies if the time comes. Then, like, how am I going to survive? So it's like, I need to be fit. I need to have the stamina to be able to save myself for when trouble comes. And well, yeah, the general aim is to be healthier. Now, between diet and exercise, like I've seen and heard that it's 70% diet and 30% exercise. But I've not always had this knowledge. So growing up, I would say that I've been chubby my whole life. I'm not the like thin girl. I'm quite meaty. So yeah, the fear of especially growing up in an Asian household, I always have my grandmother. I'm not sure if it's an eyesight problem or every time I come, even though if it's within a span of 1 week, it will be like, you gain weight? You don't exercise? Have you been eating too much? So you have these external factors that keep sort of bugging you about your weight and how you look. So when it comes to dieting and exercising, I've tried paleo diet. So back then, earlier on, it would be, the general concept would just be to eat less, don't eat rice, just eat less and go exercise. So I started off with having that kind of mindset. And maybe it worked when I was younger because my metabolism was probably better. And, back then, maybe earlier on in our younger days, like it's easier to shed off whatever weight that we put on. Then as you grow older, you start earning your own money. And then with your own money, you're able to buy all the yummy food. You go out with your friends and new colleagues. And and then you live a different lifestyle, and then the body changes, the priorities change. Then that's where I got to know different diets, not just the don't take rice and eat less mindset. This is where I got to experience paleo dieting, which is really, really torturing because it's like no oil, no sweet stuff, no sugar, no carbs. So it was really bland, just boiled chicken, steamed vegetables. It was like eating the color gray every day. It's just not how you want to live life. And then I tried keto dieting, which is I think a lot more sustainable because you get to eat good food, especially if you cook them on your own. Like you get to eat fats. So keto diet is all about having high fat content in your meals, then protein, and really minimal carbs. So when we say carbs, it's not just about eliminating rice, noodles, or breads, or sugars. Even certain vegetables have carb content, so we have to watch out as well. Nuts also have some carb content. So it was because of getting into keto, that I got to understand a little bit more about nutrition. And I started taking a longer time at the supermarkets when I go grocery shopping. So I'll be standing there for 30 minutes just looking at the nutritional value at the label, and at the end of the analyzing and comparing this product versus the other product, and in the end not getting it at all. So it became that way, but it was good. It was a good educational experience as well, that you come to know that certain foods where they say that they put in the label that there's no added sugar, but there actually is there are sugars present. So this is where the education part comes in. And whereas to exercising, I think in my view they go hand in hand, and it can either help boost positive progress or be used to balance out the other for short-term goals. So say, for example, if I'm not eating well this week, then I need to increase my activity level. And if, say, I'm able to do well in both the food that I have this week and I'm able to also keep up on my activities this week, then it'll just like give me a little bit of boost in terms of my progress. But in the long run, I think diet holds a little bit more influence in terms of general health, because we're looking at long term. We're looking at getting rid of especially the processed foods. So sometimes I think it's not so much on what diet it is, but more of how wholesome your meals are, and how wholesome your meals are, and your own fitness goals that you have.
Wow. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Audrey. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of the exercises as well, I've tried different sports. So I started out actually training for ping pong, table tennis, which got me to do a little bit of running, because when I got into training for table tennis, there was a fitness test that I had to undergo. There were other sports and games as well that I've tried. A lot of cardio, but when I got to experience Legree, it was more strength and conditioning. And I saw a post that if you don't have time and you have to prioritize, it's better to choose weightlifting and strength and conditioning types of exercises as opposed to cardio. But of course, a little bit of cardio or a combination with some cardio is good for the heart. But when you do enough weightlifting sort of activities, it helps strengthen the muscles that can help convert the fats into muscles and help with a more long-term, effects of the workout itself.
Awesome. Awesome, Audrey. Okay, that's amazing. And I've heard Audrey speaking on both matters of dieting and also, matter of fitness and the activities that she does. What I can see here is that there are 3 originally thick-sized women on screen, and yet we're discussing about fitness and diet like a pro. That's what I love about this conversation. We're so bold at it. I'm with you on the fitness part, Audrey. When I was back in college, I went into Zumbaing because I hate running. I don't really like all the other activities that, in my opinion, are boring. Boring means if I have to repeat them over and over again, I'm gonna go, But Zumba is like dancing. I don't think about it. I let my body moves, and I can dance hours on end. But if you start asking me to run, even though it's probably using similar amount of energy, I just can't. So knowing what you enjoy is also something that I gained from your conversation, your point of view just now. While both of our speakers getting ready for the second portion of this podcast, I'm going to call one of our guests. You will have 1 to 2 minutes to let us know if you are team diet or team fitness. So may I invite Hanan? Hanan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hanan, in 1 to 2 minutes, are you team diet or are you team fitness?
All right. Actually, my story with diet and fitness started in very young age. I was overweight, child, actually. I don't know if Hani can believe that, but I was the child who every time visit the doctor, he asked me to lose a weight. But I used to eat as a monster. And I wasn't ready to go through diet, no matter what. Even if my mom keeps screaming on my face every time we go for shopping for Ryan. The important things for me to buy French fries after we finish. But I remember by grade 5 or 6, the health-related TV shows became trend, like Dr. Oz, if you remember that, the doctors, they became so trend. And in Middle East, we have Green Apple also. And I used to watch these programs, and they changed my mindset in a very young age. And I started eating healthy and exercise in the same time. And actually, I start with Zumba when it's come to exercising. And I lost weight. I lost lots of weight. And in terms of diet, I start eating healthy, but not like following very strict diet. Now, after I came to Malaysia, I lived with this lifestyle for a long time, but after I came to Malaysia, I became a couch potato, not moving a lot, just walking to my university. I consider this exercise half an hour, it's enough to move my body. My diet remained the same, but physically, I'm not same. Physically, I can feel I'm tired. I cannot be as active as before. I feel like heart racing for a simple activity, just going up on the stairs or something like that. And I notice that people who are around me who don't eat as healthy as me, but they are active, actually they are healthier. So that's bring my attention that exercise is the most important part in terms of our health. For food, we can just have a balance between what we like and what is. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Hanan. And I've met Hanan in person. I would be a testament to that. It is very hard for me to believe that Hanan eats like a monster, because the version of Hanan I know today is a vegetarian Hanan. And she looks like she is in great shape. I just realized that you do Zumba too. I should have brought you along when you were still living in Kuching. Okay, let me call one more person before we go into the second session. Can we get Ilios? Because I know Haiti is driving at the moment, so let's not disturb Haiti. Haiti, I will call you at the end. Ilios, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Ilios, in 1 to 2 minutes, would you be able to share with us? What kind of fitness regime or dieting regime that you have ever tried? Whether it succeeds or not, that is another factor. But would you be able to share with us, in your experience, what kind of diet regime or fitting regime that you've ever tried?
Okay, thank you, Hani. 1, 2, 3, 4. I will answer this question. 5, 6, 7, 8. After this 8 set, yes, repetition is the key, everyone. And when I was first time trying fitness, I said, or I felt that it is not fit for me because I'm not fit enough to become a fitness member. And because most of the gym member there are men. And actually I'm doing this gym session is to find a woman. A woman to help me to be on the fit version of me. Because if I see those men, they were just striving for the muscles. They were suffering for the biceps, triceps, or so many kind of those steps. Except I also enjoy to drink the protein because I need to have the balance of the diet and the fitness. When I was trying my best to do all those repetition, it is like an addiction for me. When I woke up in the morning, I feel like, oh, I haven't been exercise. I haven't go to fitness. I should go there right now. And it looks like this kind of excitement, one of my reason that I can wake up in the morning, because I want to make sure that I'm the first person to arrive on the gym, because I don't want to be with the others. I want to go it alone. I love being lonely with the gym sets, the items to practice my repetition. And since it was a cheap one, so the one that can afford is almost everyone. So yes, I need to take turn with them. So I will go always to the set or the practice tools that is empty. So yes, thank you for giving me the chance to do my set. To close this mark, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Back to Hani.
Thank you so much, Ilyas. And you know what, Ilyas? I have one more step to introduce to you. Diet with exception of ice cream. That is probably the only step that I'll be able to introduce. Thank you to both of our guests tonight for joining us in sharing their experience. Now let's get to our second session. Second session for us to dig in a little deeper on fitness versus diet with both of our speaker. Now I'm going to get our first speaker just now, Rozana, to share with us a little bit. Now, Rozana, you spoke about this, or at least you touched about this just now in your first sharing session. I'd like to know, when it comes to the social and environmental factor, like how does that affect your choice in fitness and diet?
In terms of social factors, I think it's important that you surround yourself with people who serve you. And I think that just doesn't generally, and I don't think it's just generally for health, for fitness, or for diet, but also in everything that we do, is to surround people that would obviously will be there for your goals rather than opposing your goals. So in that perspective, right, I have a friend that I work out with at least once a week. So she's my partner workout buddy. And without her encouragement or without her, I don't think that I'll be able to have the same level of motivation in terms of being able to be consistent in terms of exercise. And some days I actually submit my weight to her just to share with her my progress. I used to weigh myself every day. It's only for data purposes. Now I've gone down to like once a week or once every 10 days just to see my progress. And she'll always say to me, like, never give up. Just keep going, never give up. And she herself is also struggling because she's been diagnosed with high blood pressure. She's on medication and she's the same age as me, 45, but already taking high blood pressure medication. And she's been watching her diet, but she's not been really losing weight. But without her and without a supportive environment, it helps a lot in trying to stay focused on your goals. Even my trainer, she's very gentle with me, gentle in a sense about the psychology behind of what I'm experiencing and how I feel about myself and my progress towards my fitness goals. She also would remind me of how far I've come. It's like she'll say, like, remember you weren't able to do these you won't be able to pull yourself on the ring rows, like you used to hate it, and now like you're doing it like no problem whatsoever. So I and then also at home, it's like I would tell my husband, say that, kind of like watching what I eat, won't be able to go out so much. And he's like, okay. Yeah, so somebody says, do you want to go out tonight? And I go, not sure. And he goes, okay, if you don't want to, it's okay. It's fine. Just eat at home. And eat at home because eating at home means I can control what goes in my mouth and what's on the table and what I can take note of. At least I'm preparing it, what goes inside. So so to me, these factors are important. Also at my workplace, in terms of environment, we try to promote wellness. So there are certain Fridays where we allow staff to go back a little bit earlier so that they could maybe join a group class that we organize. Either it's yoga, Zumba, your favorite, even rope climbing, wall climbing, not really rope climbing, wall climbing, CrossFit session, and so on. A walking, group walk together. So we try to encourage all these kind of activities, and it makes a big difference. Like if you surround yourself with the right kind of environment, the right kind of people, you would have a higher chance of success rather than being with people who are skeptical with what you're trying to achieve and what you want to do. And you could, not to say that you can't achieve your goals, you could, but maybe not as in the way that would be pleasant for you.
Mm. Yeah. Um, it's absolutely true, like especially when it comes to eating at home, or like getting another person accountable. Not really accountable, but they are your accountability buddy, like when you share with another person. I truly believe fitness is not something you can do on your own, especially people who loves food like us. Because I've made plans with Rozana, and it has nothing to do with going to Zumba. It has a lot to do with, like going to a various different place of dim sums and laksas. So guilty to that. I fortunately has a person who, similar to Rosanna, live at home with me, who realizes that it is important for us to be healthy because we have a 2 years old that we are accountable for, probably the next 25, 28, 30 years old for the rest of their lives, depending on situation, right? But that is a good enough reason for one person to change their perspective onto uh, having a better way of living or consuming better. And I've met this one CEO, and here in Kuching is an NGO, a CEO, and he told me this. He said when he turned about 40 years old, he stopped eating at noon, and he eat just a few spoon at night. But he takes his breakfast, because breakfast of the champ, he said. And for a person who today is almost 60 years old, he looks super fit. I mean, not like he has the belly and all that, like the typical slightly veteran age person, but I believe he is in good health. There are also this one person who I met was, who I think at the moment 70 years old, and he said he only need to eat once a day. And he's a vegetarian on top of that. Not saying that I'm supporting everyone or like need to get everyone on board to become a vegetarian or vegan, but what I'm saying is there might be some truth behind that. And I think a lot of us are going into the direction of, not because I want to get skinny or slim, but it's more because I need to my body to function when I am old and gray. I think that's a mindset shift that a lot of us will have eventually. Thank you, Rozana, for that. So, Audrey, I have a question for you, and you've spoken a little bit about that. And as a Legree instructor and a person who has been dwelling into quite a couple of sports, what are the common conceptions that people have about prioritizing fitness over diet, or vice versa? What are the common conceptions that you hear in your experience?
I think like I mentioned earlier, it goes hand in hand, and it really varies on the different lifestyles of different people, and even for one person, you go through different life stages. Your lifestyle changes as you progress through different phases in life and different stages in life. And I think this is where there's no one size fits all, because even if something were to have worked for me before, it does not mean that it will work for me now, because our bodies go through different changes. Even if, say, like for me, I have not given birth yet, so my body has not undergone that kind of transformation, and I still have my own challenges when it comes to weight loss or maintaining my weight or trying to be fitter. And then, as you age, your metabolism changes as well. And then there's this one other thing that I think is good to know, which is good to think about, which is a gender difference here. Because for women, we're more prone to hormonal imbalances, regardless of whether we've given birth or not. So hormonal imbalance is something that is more for the women. And I came across this Dr. Mindy Pell's sharing how cortisol levels, especially a week before our periods, if we don't try to keep cortisol levels down, which is your stress levels, then it hinders the progesterone level, and the body is preparing to bleed a week earlier. And if we don't try to keep the cortisol levels down, then it'll affect the body in terms of how we are supposed to function as a female. So I think in that sense, like there's so much more to not just about fitness and diet, but overall of a more holistic health. I mean, like there's so many other things that can be covered as well, from how we sleep and other stress levels, and the mental side of things. So it's not just about solely fitness winning over diet, or diet being the more important thing. Like it's still a holistic health kind of what do you call it? Like it is more important to have a more holistic view over in the long run.
Well, that's pretty cool, Audrey. Yeah, like when it comes to women, there's always, like if it's not childbirth, it's period, and like it's across women of all ages. This seems to be like one topic that no matter how old you are, is going to always be a topic at hand, right? And great that you mentioned holistic, Audrey. I wanted to know. Now we know that there are some outside factor that probably influence all these factors, like outside influence that makes a woman focus on either diet or fitness or both, or even get rid of it altogether. So I would like to know, what do you think we can do to encourage that more holistic view on health that values both, not just the diet part, not just the fitness, but both? What do you think we can what can we do to encourage people out there? Audrey, yeah. There was a follow-up question from what you suggested, because you mentioned holistic, and I love what you say. Would love to know, what do you think we can do to encourage?
I think what would really help is to take the time to learn and understand the available options out there, and also to get to know ourselves. Because when it comes to dieting, fitness, I think it serves as a part of exploring and discovering, like getting to know ourselves through self-awareness and self-reflection. Like we're always changing when we encounter different situations. We're always growing, and we're growing and progressing. We're learning the different things. We will have different priorities at different times. So these needs would have to be met differently. And also to get rid of unrealistic goals, finding the right motivation or the reason behind embarking on this journey. So like, what is a more sustainable reason to work out? Would be, I want to be healthy because I want to live a healthier life longer, to be able to support my family, or to be able to watch my kid grow up. And sometimes this doesn't hit us until we are in that situation itself. So if I'm like, for example, like I'm single, I don't have obligations, I don't have a kid to look after. So then like I live life a little bit more carefree. And if say I were to be married and I have my own kids, like I would want to have that energy. I would want to have the stamina as well as the health to be able to look after my family and to keep up with my kids. Yeah. And I think we have to know where we are, and most importantly as well, we have to be honest with ourselves in terms of the intention behind why we're doing this. Because sometimes the whole fitness and diet intention could be the goal could be a little bit more short-term and surface, where we just want to look good. We fear that other people might view us differently because, or maybe we don't meet certain attractiveness standards in that sense. So yeah, I think it's finding the right goals, the realistic goals, finding the right motivation, and being very honest with ourselves.
I love that, being honest with ourselves, because I think this is the thing about dieting or fitness, right? We always say that at the end of the year, before the next year comes in, so like I have a New Year's resolution, and I have that same resolution for past 5 years before I have a child. Of course, it's like I will lose 10 kgs. I said that, and I think a lot of us says that, but the truth is, not many of us know what to do, right? Not many of us know what's the next step, or knowing, like what Audrey said just now, knowing exactly what you want to do, like what are the options available. We say that, but we'll say like, okay, I'll think about it next month, next year. Like diet maybe tomorrow. Oh, never mind, tomorrow I have a different event, maybe the day after. And it's always going to continue with these excuses, all these steps, my kind of accepts. It will continue on until one day someone actually asked me this question that made me change my perception a little bit. If today you forget to breathe last night, right, would your family member would be able to carry on without you? In specific, does your husband and daughter, can you guarantee that they grow up well or grow old well? And I was stuck because I don't have a guarantee to that. And the follow-up question was, have you done anything to be able to at least try your best to have a guarantee? I don't, because then I realized that, okay, it's not about being small. It's really about being able to see through the day, if God's willing, giving me more years. I still have to work with it, because I cannot imagine my daughter having to go up and down the hospital because I did not take care of myself today. So that is a perception that changes what I thought about when it comes to dieting and fitness. That I would like to ask Rozana. So Rozana shared with us all her photos just now. I was so excited to see that. Wow, Rozana, that's a crazy transformation. Like, I know that you are currently going through your mission to be fit.
Yeah.
Right? As you are going through that, who is also around you with all that, how do you how does your energy level affect your regular exercising throughout the day? How does that work for you? How does the energy level looks like? Would you be able to share with us from the point of view and the perspective of your experience?
Honestly, every day I'm tired from work. Honestly speaking. So the thing about fitting in exercise is that you have to make time for it. It's like you have to make time to go do your hair, make time to go for a massage, make time to have a date with your husband, make a time to bring the kids to the playground. You have to make time. It just so happens that this time needs to be spent on exercise. So if I'm not very busy with work, I would try to at least work out. Like I've done like 3 to 4 times a week. But if I'm extremely busy, I've gone down to a minimum of at least once a week. Currently, I'm operating on once a week go for personal training and once a week go for my partner workout. So that's like 2 times a week. Honestly speaking, is that sometimes like we make it complicated in terms of how we want to approach exercise. And I was speaking to a doctor recently when I went for my a checkup in terms of she was my blood test results. And she asked me like, oh, how are you progressing with your weight loss? And I said, well, I said time for exercise is challenging for me. And then she says, well, you know what? I lost, she said, 20 kilos after giving birth. And it's not that I went to the gym and I did 1 hour of workout. It's that I put dumbbells at the TV. I put like exercise resistance bands in front of the TV. And so I'm watching my favorite program and I go, oh, I feel like doing 10 squats. And I get up, I do 10 squats. And I sit down again. I go, do I want to do some more? And I stand up, I do another 10. She goes, next thing you know, I've done 100. And I said, well, that's a perspective. And then I was like trying to apply that same principle as well the other day. So I was watching TV and I was trying to do that. And I was like, oh, I think I'm going to do 10 more push-ups. And so it's just about fitting in this little movement every day, because we sit 8 hours or more. Even now we're sitting 8 hours or more at our desk. If we don't get our movement, our bodies get stiff. We don't use our muscles. We'll lose strength. And then our joints, they need oiling, and the older we get, the more complicated it'll become. So you need to set time for these things. Otherwise, you will just lose track of it all. I know I'm not directly answering your question, but I think it's a lot. But I just focus on that specifically.
And I think that is amazing that you will be able to share with us, because, hey, you know what? That's a good tip too. Because I remember doing that. Whenever I had to go up on a treadmill, I will purposely turn on Victoria's Secret fashion show. Oh yeah, Audrey is laughing because you know how they look like, and you on a treadmill, you'll be powered to look like that. Well, at least not necessarily to look like that, but you would be thinking like, oh, okay, I'm not working hard enough, so I would actually do that more. But thank you for that tip, Rozana. That's very valuable for me too. I think I'm going to start putting dumbbells and like all the belts over my TV, so that whenever I watch something, I'll just work out if I feel like doing 100 squats. Who knows, Who knows? I might change it. Okay, so one final question for the both of you, and it will be the same question. So I will start with Audrey, then we will close with Rozana, okay? So this will be the question. What advice would you be able to give to someone struggling to balance their fitness and diet, especially when it comes to their habits? What would be, one advice or a few advice, if you have any, to give to someone who is struggling to balance their fitness routine or their diet habits? What do you think, Audrey?
I think what would really help is to just know where you are at this moment in life. So what's your schedule like? What's your current lifestyle? Because sometimes it's more of okay, I need to exercise, I need to diet, I need to meet certain fitness goals or health goals, and then like we just add them into our schedule and we just do it. There's not so much there may not be a second layer or third layer of considering okay, what is my goal here, unless maybe you engage a personal coach or a personal trainer to help you through these sort of things. But not all of us actually engage a coach for this, and not all of us are able to afford a personal coach. So I think what's important to know is, what is our lifestyle like now? What is our social life like now? Because sometimes having a social life could also impact how we schedule the rest of the rest of our aspects of our lives. So if, say, we're a parent, then we'll have to schedule around our kids' plans and activities. So what would work for us? And it should be those factors that determine what kind of diet would be suitable and what kind of exercise that we could fit into our schedule, and also the goals that we have. And it has to be, I think, as I mentioned earlier, the goals have to be realistic, and we have to have the right motivators so that we could keep consistent in the workouts that we choose or the diet plans that we choose. And I think ultimately is mostly just being mindful about our choices in terms of how active we want to be and what kind of food that we want to consume. I think eliminating processed foods would be a good start, especially unhealthy oils would be a good start as well, and focusing on more wholesome foods.
That's so great, Audrey. And I think those tips would really help a lot as someone who loves oily food, unfortunately. I believe it is a good time for me to start taking a step back of that. Age is catching up. Thank you, Audrey, for that. And Rozana, what about you? What is one tip or more if you have?
Oh gosh, so many tips. But I think first and foremost is to never give up. If you've started on this quest and you want to strive towards a certain goal that you want to achieve, is just to never give up. Just like I shared with my stories of the previous experiences, like this journey that I've been on trying to be a better version of myself is lifelong, and I don't think it will stop. It will continue in my old age even. Who knows that even my old age, maybe I just like will aim to get more muscle. Who knows? So I just wanted to add on what Audrey said. Is like you be very clear about your why. I think when I was trying to lose weight, it's not sustainable because like you're obsessed about looking thin. But then when you reach really thin, so what? Right? So what is it that motivates you? So for me, what I shared earlier on, in old age, what would I be capable of doing so that I could take care of my family? And I think what's important is that when you're talking about like wanting to balance between fitness and diet, is that we try to do too much too soon. So when you try to do too much too soon, you get really stressed out. Oh my God, I've got to plan my meals, or I have got to go for my exercise. If it's too much, scale back. Do what's realistic, because ultimately, right, you're talking about lifestyle changes. The small changes will eventually add up. It's all incremental at the end of the day. So if dieting is what you want to start with, and just say that, okay, from today onwards, what I'm going to take what Audrey says, I'm just going to eliminate all processed foods. All my foods will be prepared, wholesome. That's a great start. If you keep on continuing that, then you would see results in the long run. And then at some point, I feel better about myself. I have more energy. What if I just add in that? What if I just park a bit further today and I walk to my office? Now I could get in 10 minutes there and 10 minutes back. That's exercise. That's movement. So you don't have to purposely try to find that 1 hour I have to fit in. It's just try to find ways of making it work for you. And what Audrey said is really like fitting into what works for you and your lifestyle. So please never give up, and don't have to make it complicated. Don't do too much at one time.
Wow, very profound, both Audrey and Rozana. And we've gained a lot from that. And thank you so much as well to the both of you for inspiring us. This is a story, in my opinion, are two real life women who is going through the journey themselves, and they have the right to tell us their experience and all the things that has helped them. And I hope that inspiration will be able to help us to bring it back home as well, to apply them at some part of our lives. The way I see it, while fitness strengthens our bodies and build endurance, diet itself fuels the process, provide the essential nutrients we need to recover, grow, and function at our best. So we strive to be independent when we are old and gray. We strive to trust the process and never give up. And finally, we strive to be a better version of ourselves. We determine whether if fitness, just fitness, or diet, just diet, are for us. But I'm from all our conversations tonight, I think both is equally important. That's it for our podcast. Thank you so much for listening in, everyone. Thank you once again to Rozana and Audrey. We will now close the podcast. See you again in our next recording session.